welcome to another episode of Routes Through Pokemon Adventures. I'm your host, Shea Locke.
I'm Ruby.
I'm Rosella.
I'm Vava.
And this week we have a very special guest.
Frank Future.
Right. Well, Frank Future's been a long-time friend of mine. And so since this is your first time here today, Frank, let's get to know you a little bit, huh? Or I'll let the audience get to know you since I already do.
Yeah. So I really started playing Pokemon or getting involved in Pokemon from the beginning when they released the games. And my brother and I, we each got a version of Red and Blue and got to play those. But kind of, right along that same time frame, we got introduced to your brother's Pokemon card shop out of your window there at the apartments that we lived at, and I was just hooked right in. And that from that point on, collected cards as much as I could, and my brother and I, we continued to get any new game that came out. He would get one, and I would get one, and just continued our journey from there. Alongside that, I also watched the anime a lot while it was airing. When new episodes would air, I would try to be there after school watching any new episode that I could. I was really into it for a while. And then, into my, adult years, I met my wife, and she also was pretty into Pokemon. And so it kind of worked out that at that point we would continue getting the games that would come out. She would get one, and I would get one, and we'd play alongside each other, trade Pokemon that were game exclusives.
Right.
Every year we would get the new ones, play through them. I had stopped getting cards for a little while, but then, a little bit later in life, I came back to it and started buying more cards just for fun. And, getting packs, it's always fun to open new packs and see what you could get. The rush of, which type are you going to get when your favorite Pokemon, or maybe a rare card or secret rare
Absolutely.
card, or something like that. Watching the anime later in life when streaming services came around, my wife and I went through almost every season of the show that we could. Some of the more recent ones haven't quite caught up on those, but yeah.
Well, you're further along than I am then, because I've seen some Orange Islands, I've seen Indigo League, and I think, well, that's not true. I've seen some here and there episodes of like Pokemon Journeys and stuff on Netflix because the kids watch them.
Oh, sure. Yep.
But that's about it.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's kind of where I stand today. Still play the games, when I can. Collect cards every so often, but definitely keep up with it.
Sure. Have you beaten at least one game from every gen?
Yeah, the only one that I actually, hilariously enough, got to the very end of Sword and Shield, and for whatever reason I didn't cross the finish line. I think maybe another game came out or something like that I should just do that tonight. I'm gonna go back and finish it.
Just playing Breath of the Wild or something silly.
Exactly. But the most recent one, Scarlet and Violet, I'm only partway through.
Sure.
I've only had a few hours invested into that one so far.
When you say the finish line of Sword and Shield, whereabouts are you? I guess.
If I remember correctly, I beat every gym leader.
Okay, so you beat the 8 gyms.
Yes, but then I didn't...
So you haven't progressed past that point.
Exactly.
Got it, okay. Because I hear that there is even more after you think that you've finished that. That there's more story to go back to.
Yep.
As far as like the beginnings then, you had like blue or red and your brother had the other, right?
Yep, that's right.
What were your guys' starters then?
Yeah, so I started with Bulbasaur.
Sure.
I think he started with Squirtle, actually.
Of course. So you chose Bulbasaur so you could beat him.
Yeah, exactly. He had blue and I had red. And I think he just picked Squirtle because he had the blue one. And
sure.
I just, for whatever reason, I didn't want Charmander.
I'm with you.
Yep.
That's not my first choice.
So I picked Bulbasaur. I definitely didn't want to pick the same one that he did. I wanted a different path, and I've liked Bulbasaur from the beginning, and I would say even to this day, he's probably my favorite. There are plenty cooler Pokemon, if you want to say that.
Sure.
Bulbasaur has a special place.
Yeah. So continuing from there, did you always go with grass starters, or did you switch it up at all?
Yeah, I really continued the trend of picking the grass starters.
Okay.
Unless there was one, nowadays you can look up, hey, what does the final evolution look like of
Yeah,
this
that does
Pokemon?
influence.
Is it cool? Is it weird? And so sometimes maybe, but for the most part, I've always selected the grass type.
Alright, cool.
So
Is that your favorite just type in general? Because I mean, there's the 3 starter types always, but then you have dark and ghost and psychic and
yeah, I think grass is probably my favorite type. I'd maybe consider myself a grass trainer in general.
sure.
I do think, some of the cooler Pokemon in general are maybe Dragon. There's some cool dark Pokemon, out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But I would say grass.
All right, cool. I'm not even sure anymore. I used to have a opinion on that, but I've definitely been leaning towards a lot more grass Pokemon myself lately, especially when I uncovered that Leafeon existed and stuff. I'm like, actually, I like this Pokemon a lot.
Yeah.
Because if I'm sure you've listened. I'm a big Eevee fan and
Oh,
my
yeah.
evolutions. Although I do really like the shiny version of Umbreon
Oh,
with the blue markings.
so cool.
So cool.
Yeah. So, but also, in recent years, they came out with Pokemon Go, and I was
Yep.
a player of that from launch day. I remember reading about that game coming out, and so I was ready for it and played it from day one. I've played it every single day since. I really think it's been every day that I've opened that game since then, and that's, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago or something. When
I think it
first
came
launched.
out in 2016.
Yes, so 8 almost.
Yeah, summer of 2016.
So there you go. And so I've played that avidly, and I've got a lot of my decks. I was a big shiny hunter in that game. That was a big thing.
It's always exciting to find them.
Yeah, early on, I tried to catch every Pokemon that I could to complete the Pokedex, and that's really fun. Right away when new Pokemon come out.
Yep.
But what kept me coming back was trying to find those shiny Pokemon.
I totally get that. Yeah, for me, I was like, oh well, I caught just about everything I can, and the ones I can't are either locked behind a raid, and I'm just not strong enough or high enough levels or whatever. I'm just like, eh. And so it dwindles, especially with when winter shows up and stuff, right? So my first year, like a lot of people, probably 2016 summer, played a lot. Winter came around, and I'm like, fell off the wagon for a bit. Kind of picked it up in spring, summer, and then it was less.
Yeah.
And then I just quit for a couple of years, and I was excited when they started introducing even cooler ideas and concepts into the game, giving it more depth and everything.
Yeah, and I was really lucky where I worked at the time. I had access to gyms and Pokestops right
Nice.
there from my
That's
desk.
So nice.
So I'd take a little break, flip the game on, see what's going on, and so I could maintain, getting the items, fighting the gyms,
and that's
maybe a
important
raid,
too.
without really having to go anywhere.
Yeah, my work currently there's a gym and a Pokestop not far away, but just far enough away. And it tortures me. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I really want to go out there and go get it. But I do go through a downtown area near a college campus, and there are tons of gyms. Well, like a handful of gyms, and tons of Pokestops, right? So on my way into work, on my way out of town, I can hit all those.
Okay, yeah, that's good when you have that availability. It keeps you wanting to keep playing.
Yeah, it does. Oh, with the beginning of Pokemon Go, I didn't really do a lot of Pokemon leading up to it. That was somewhere in that big gap of me not touching really anything Pokemon related. And I had friends that were super excited about it. They would post on Facebook and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out. Oh, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't, whatever."
Yeah.
And then it was probably a week into its release, and people were still talking about it and everything. And I'm like, that excitement started generating excitement in me. I'm like, well, maybe I could check this out. And then of course, yeah, I was hooked for a while. And
Yeah, the beginning of it was, I think a lot of people liked it and were a little turned off by it because there were, I guess you could say, ways to cheat. There used to be maps that would tell you which Pokemon was going to spawn where.
Yes, I did know about that.
And so, my wife and I and my brother-in-law, we would go into the city, and it used to just be packed. It could be 10 o'clock at night, and there would be a few hundred people that were in a park in the city, because that's where you have the most condensed Pokestops and gyms and things, is where the most Pokemon would spawn. And so I'll just never forget, someone would say something like, oh, Dragonite's going to be, 2 blocks down. And then all of a sudden 300 people start running 2 blocks down the road in the city for the Dragonite to spawn. And they're all standing there trying to catch it.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget there was the first Dragonite that did spawn. That was a real life example. I went through 100 Pokeballs and didn't catch it.
Ooh.
And because originally, some of I think it's a bit higher odds now to catch Pokemon, and you didn't have as much access to the Great Balls and the Ultra Balls as easily as you do now. And I went through over 100 regular Pokeballs, didn't catch it, but my wife and my brother-in-law did, and I was devastated.
Oh,
just had to click that escape button, just run away from it. Couldn't get it. So.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I've not been caught without having Pokeballs in a long time now. Honestly, I start groaning when I'm like, ooh, I'm out of regular Pokeballs because I've just thrown them like crazy. I only have like 100 Great Balls and like 100 and some like Ultra Balls. There was a point where I had like 300 of each of those or whatever, or maybe even 400. And my wife doesn't expand her bag as much as I do, so she's like, oh no. You only have, 300 Pokeballs total? I got 50. And I like those. It gives me comfort that I know that I can throw these and be okay.
Exactly. What if a big event happens? Now
Exactly.
You're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never know. I remember, too, with Pokemon Go, too, it would just be like, I'd go to get gas and stuff, and you would see people, like, because I played enough that I could recognize when they're walking in with their phone. I'm like, oh, I see what they're playing.
Yeah.
Or they're moving their finger around. They're throwing a Pokeball.
It was a big deal.
It was huge. You mentioned Bulbasaur being a big one for you. Is that your favorite Pokemon of all Pokemon then, or do you have a different favorite Pokemon?
Yeah, I would have said Bulbasaur, and I probably still would say Bulbasaur is my favorite, but it's really more nostalgia. Like,
sure.
I would say, especially with being more exposed to like shinies, because originally I never knew that the shiny Pokemon was a thing.
Sure,
Sure. I'm sure maybe I encountered one in my years playing the games in my youth and never realized it.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got more exposed to it, like I really like shiny Rayquaza. Black, the shade of black and gold, and it's powerful. I would say that's one of my favorites. But yeah. I mean, I think I probably would say though, like if I had to pick, like, hey, right now, pick your favorite, I'd probably still pick Bulbasaur.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, I do like some specific shiny ones that are just really cool looking. Like obviously Umbreon one, Greninja's super cool with its black, and recently with the Rowlet Community Day, I got a bunch of shiny Rowlets and stuff, and the shiny Decidueye is really cool to me too. I really like the look of him.
Yeah, some of them can look really cool. Some of them are maybe you don't notice, like Pikachu is just a different shade of yellow, and
Flareon, you barely can tell.
Yep, can't barely tell, but I think having those versions as an option just make them much more exciting.
Yeah, and shiny was introduced in Gold and Silver, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember when it was introduced, honestly. Like,
I thought that's where it started. I could be wrong. But
yeah, I honestly don't remember.
I know it's pretty early in the life of Pokemon.
It was. It was really early. I can't remember if it was in Red and Blue or not. I don't think it was, but
Red and Blue, no. There's no color in Red and Blue.
But it would be denoted, like when you look at it, the Pokemon's stats, you could see the stars.
Sure, but there would be like they wouldn't have done anything with it because there's no different color.
Wouldn't have noticed,
right?
Yeah.
But but with Arceus, I've definitely got a shiny in there. There's a cool sound that plays when they show up too on the world or whatever. So I've definitely got at least a shiny Pokemon or two in that game. Definitely Pokemon Go. It seems the easiest place.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever caught any other shinies so far in anything else.
Yeah, the only one that I know of that I caught was in Let's Go.
Okay.
I caught a shiny Meowth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
But there was kind of a little bit of a trick in the game. Not a glitch or anything, but like in that game, if you catch the same Pokemon over and over again without failure, you get a streak.
Yeah, I've heard there's some things like that in a few different games that do different things to help you with that.
And then it increases the likelihood that a shiny would spawn, and that's what happened.
Because I think there's something to do with that with the cooking in, well, maybe both Scarlet Violet and Sword and Shield to help you find shinies. To some extent, I don't know all the information. But in Sword and Shield, I'm super annoyed because Rosella got a shiny Rookidee almost right off the bat of the game. Like, one of the first Pokemon she caught was a flippin' shiny Rookidee. Did I get any shiny Pokemon throughout the entire thing? No, nothing.
Of course.
Well, thanks for letting us know more about you, Frank. And
Yeah, thank you for letting me join you.
Yeah.
today in your route through Pokemon.
yes, our route through Pokemon. Alright, so we'll get into the episodes now. This week we are covering, I guess you could say anime stuff, but our first theatrical release of Pokemon content, Pokemon the first movie, and some surrounding stuff around there. So we have a Pikachu short that aired with the movie called Pikachu's Vacation, I believe. And we also have something that was released later attached to the Return of Mewtwo, and that is the Birth of Mewtwo, which chronologically takes place before Mewtwo Strikes Back.
The thing is sad.
But before we totally jump in, is there anything anybody wants to share about what's been going on in their own adventures with video games lately, or cards, or any other anime stuff? Because I know some of us have been watching other things as well that are more recent.
Well, Frank Future brought a bunch of cards and we opened a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
He brought us some cool cards.
Yep, Frank brought some gifts on his visit. That's why he gets to be on the podcast, because he paid his way with Pokemon. No, I'm just kidding.
I got a
My entry
Flareon
fee.
from him.
What'd you get?
I got a Flareon where it's like the picture and they just put the words on the picture instead of like having their separate spaces.
Yeah, I got Cool Art Eevee, and then I also opened a pack.
Nice. Anything exciting in your packs?
I got a Dratini, I think.
Oh, that's fun.
I got a Fuecoco,
I got a double
and I'm trying to collect all the starters from games and stuff.
Oh, that's right. You also got the final evolution of...
I think Quaxwell.
No, Quaxwell's the second evolution.
I got EX of the final evolution of Coco.
Yeah, Fair Alligator, I think. No, that's Totodile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever. Skelerage. Something like that. Are you not familiar with Scarlet and Violet?
Not as much.
As far as the anime stuff, I don't know if I've even talked about it, but we definitely finished that 4-parter, the Paldean Winds little mini cartoon.
Yeah, Paldean.
Have you watched that at all?
Like,
I haven't.
breathe out, breathe in, and something else.
Yeah, there's like breathe out, breathe in, take a breath, and I don't remember. There was
Stop breathing.
stop breathing and die. But the first 3 highlighted different characters with their different starter Pokemon from the Paldean region.
Okay.
The first one was sort of confusing, but fun.
Ruby didn't like it at all because she couldn't figure out what was going on, because it chopped up the episode into different, like, you kept getting moments of like flashbacks to something else and other flashbacks to another point, and then kind of what's going on in the present, and it was hard for her to keep track of when things were happening.
Well, I didn't even know that that's what they were doing. I was
Right.
so confused. I didn't know until the end.
So she doesn't like those kinds of puzzle shows. They're my thing. I love that stuff.
Well, maybe if I knew what they were doing, but I had no clue what was going on.
You have to go back and watch them.
But we also went and watched the Hisuian Snow series with that Zorua. Do you remember that? Did you watch that with me? I know some people did.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Where the kid's on the boat back on the way to like Jubilife Village with his dad, and we get flashbacks to when he was a kid at the edge of the forest, and
Is
the
that
shiny
the-
Zorua's there.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
I liked it.
Did you not watch that?
I don't think so.
Oh, you were gone. That's probably why we picked some random
Yeah.
Pokemon shorts to watch.
That's why we watched it, because she wasn't there.
And then I'm really excited. I think it's now next month that we're supposed to be seeing the new series, Pokemon Horizons. Now that Ash's series is over.
Yep.
It looks cool. I'm excited to watch it.
I'll definitely check it out.
There's an airship.
Can't go wrong with an airship.
Right? Yeah. That's about all I think new going on for me. Anything else? No? Alright. Well, let's dive into the show then. So we'll start with probably Pikachu's Vacation.
It was fun.
It was weird.
It was fun.
It was weird.
So for me it was really confusing when the kids started watching Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, which is the remake of the movie, because I remember going to theaters to see the first movie.
Me too.
And I remember there being these moments in the movie that were just super bizarre. Like, you would think you were on drugs or something. And when they were watching Evolution, I'm like, I can't picture where those scenes would have been in this plot of this movie, because I didn't necessarily remember the plot that well. And then I went back and watched the original, and I'm like, there's nothing here. I was like, where is all this bizarre psychedelic stuff? And I'm like, I just recently rewatched Pikachu's Vacation, and now I remember it wasn't there.
Because they have, like, scenes or whatever, and then they have this, like, one of them's Chansey rolling around, one of them's Farfetch'd running.
Yeah, but it's not just one chance. It's like multiple, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Like a kaleidoscope of the Pokemon. Or like the first one was like Bellsprout, two of them, or the one, but into melding together in wavy forms. It was kind of like the interrupted segments of scenes in like that 70s show, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good reference.
Right. But yeah, so it was always between like moments of the episode. So as far as the show goes, how did it start off? They were being dropped off at some like Pokemon resort area.
Mm-hmm. That people weren't allowed in, it looked like.
Yeah, there was no people there.
Yeah, zero.
And everyone dropped off their Pokemon at the same time. It just so happened to be that, Team Rocket dropped off their Pokemon at the same time that Ash and Brock and Misty dropped off.
I mean,
their
Team
Pokemon.
Rocket's following them all the time, so it's not too surprising,
That's
I guess. Maybe they were going into an area where they weren't allowed to carry Pokemon. So they had to drop the Pokemon off somewhere.
Could be.
I don't know where that would be, but maybe. And, like, it's fine. Like, it makes sense that there's plenty of other people that might have dropped them off at different times. Because there was one group that does arrive later, it seems. And that's the rival group of the episode.
Yep.
But then Togepi was having a conniption fit. And we learned that it gets very baby-like when it's hungry.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out a way to soothe it.
And they got it to sleep.
They almost got an apple for it, and then Psyduck just comes along and eats it.
Oh, that's right. I love Psyduck. What do you think about Psyduck?
Comic relief. Right.
He's so funny to me.
He's the best.
Yeah, very innocent.
I do have a
Psyduck
Psyduck that evolves into Golduck, and I have a...
Nice.
But Bulbasaur saves the day
He does save the day.
with his Bulbabee or Bulbabai.
Oh, right.
Bulbabai.
The Bulbabai.
Yeah, the first instance ever of the Bulbabai or something. I think the Pokedex entry said.
Oh, that was good stuff.
It was a bit surprising to me that Bulbasaur was the one that
Oh, sure.
soothed Togepi.
Yeah. Speaking of Bulbasaur, I do like how Ash even got him. Like, his story in the show is kind of cool. Because it's that secret area that lady's taking care of injured Pokemon, and he's kind of like the guardian of that area.
Yeah.
But then she's like, he needs to know that he doesn't have to stay here to protect everybody, but he still wants to have a battle first to be caught. He's like, I want to go with you, but we're going to battle first.
The integrity.
Yeah. So he's got some honor. It's cool.
That's why he's the best one.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I forgot that he got Bulbasaur there.
Yeah. And so then, after they get Togepi to sleep, to the relief of everyone, we get the Jerk Squad, which has a Pokemon we've never seen before in Kanto, doesn't it?
I have no idea.
That's two, right?
Is it two? I can't remember.
Snubble and Meryl.
Oh, that's right. Meryl's there too. Yep.
I know there was a Raichu.
Raichu and Cubone.
Yeah. Yep. Raichu, Cubone, Snubble, and Meryl is the gang, I think.
Pikachu and Pikachu's at first like stop, and then he gets I forgot how, but he gets so mad at Raichu.
But I thought this was significant because we had a vision of Ho-Oh. We know who Ho-Oh is. We don't know its name or anything like that. Way back at the beginning, and the video game still Gold and Silver still aren't out. But now we got glimpses of more Pokemon, with Snubble and Meryl, who we've never seen before in the show.
Yeah, what was interesting is they introduced Snubble as a newly discovered Pokemon in Pikachu's Vacation, but they did not introduce Meryl that way.
That is interesting.
So it makes you wonder if there was maybe some intention behind that, or thought to be.
Yeah, it could have been.
The Pokedex entry read off was a newly discovered Pokemon.
I forgot about that. but that means we've had 4 now with Togepi and Ho-Oh, and now these two. We have 4 Johto Pokemon showing up in Kanto.
Yeah.
And we'll have another one in the movie.
I think Raichu was zapping or something, and Pikachu got zapped, and that's why he got mad. Yeah, Pikachu was trying to protect Togepi, and then because Raichu's zapping everything, and Raichu zaps Pikachu, and he gets mad. So, fight.
Yep. So, yeah, they get into a big old disagreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the whole situation, and I know they both, like, get blows in and are laughing at the other team, I guess, if you want to call it that. And one of them, is it Pikachu that's trying to, like, get everybody to be, like, at peace at first? Somebody was.
Yeah, I think it was
Pikachu.
Pikachu.
Was it Pikachu? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
said
sense.
That. I said,
Oh, did
he's
you?
like,
Sorry,
stop,
I missed
stop.
that. Sorry. I wasn't listening. No. And so then what happens?
Squirtle and Meryl see who can swim the fastest.
Yeah, and Squirtle would have won too, but what happened?
I forgot.
Meryl cheated in some way.
I don't think Meryl cheated,
No, it didn't cheat.
but he got hit by like a Magikarp or something, didn't he?
Goldine.
Goldine? Was it Goldine?
Yep.
It slowed him down enough because then he thinks he still makes it, but then we see he didn't make it in time. Meryl was already there.
Like eating ice cream or something.
And Charizard just flew off to, at the beginning, just try to relax on his own. But I know at least one point he's sitting on that mountain, just chilling, and they all end up running by there. Why do they run by there?
Because Pikachu and Raichu are like running or something.
Oh, with their cheeks against
they're
each
like
other.
pushing up against each other. Are they stuck together? Is that what it was?
No,
I don't know if they were stuck.
They were
they were just.
they were
They were
side
like-
by side while they were running.
they were trying
okay.
to push each other, and they were running.
It's possible with all that static that they get stuck to each other.
And then,
It looked a little goofy. That's what I thought. Maybe they did.
and then they went on Charizard's tail.
Yep,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
That's where I was headed with that. Yeah, they run right over his tail, which doesn't make him happy. So they do that, and I think above the mountain during that point, that's Meowth is there, isn't he?
Yep.
With Ekans and coughing.
Yep.
No, he's not with Ekans and coughing.
He was
Arbok and
with
Weezing.
like other Pokemon.
Exactly.
They're a ball.
Which, actually, I didn't even think about this. This is interesting because at this point, Jesse and James actually have more Pokemon.
Yeah,
They have
would've.
they have Victory Bell and Lickitung by this
Lickitung,
point.
Yeah.
So where were they? They probably snuck them in. Wherever that no Pokemon zone is.
Almost like how there's some places where you can't have any pets.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Pokemon are their pets, basically.
Basically. And food.
But the weird thing is, they always compare them to actual animals, like in the show. Like
The rat type Pokemon.
exactly, it's like
Except for like
What's a
some
mouse?
Pokemon like Onyx, he's like rocks or boulders.
Yeah.
He's not a animal.
So I remember what happens to Meowth later. What is he doing at this point though?
they're just trying to relax
They're
and
just
sleep.
trying to relax. Nothing happens to him at this
Yeah, I don't
point.
think they're involved.
Okay. They're just
Nothing
witnessing
happens.
it at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Just letting us know that they're there.
Yes.
Got it. So with Charizard after the tail, is that when he starts freaking out and flying around?
Yep.
And tries to chase him down.
And he breaks
And starts
a bunch
breaking
of
up
stuff.
a bunch of stuff, yeah. Until he gets his head
And then
stuck.
he gets stuck in like this pipe thing that like you can go like it goes straight and then goes up. And he starts blowing fire while he's trying to get out, and Meowth like, quiet down, and then he looks down and the fire just goes straight up and burns him.
Yes, it does, which is hilarious. But while he's stuck there, of course, he's like trying to get out, but he has those horns that are sleek, so it's easy for his head to go in, but he can't get it back out. And I definitely know and understand the challenges of trying to help an animal like this, because we have goats. And they like to put their heads, because their horns are slicked back, and they put their heads through the fence. Trying to get them back out is a pain in the butt, I tell you.
Yeah. Because what was Charizard's intention, right? Just to stop Pikachu and Raichu? Because they
No,
are
he
bothering
just- he sort of
his
just
relaxing?
I think he was just going on a rampage at
Yeah,
first.
he got a ram.
Because wasn't he? I thought he was chasing after them to stop them
He might
at
have.
first.
He
He
might
was
have
mad
started
at them,
them.
so they
And then,
Yeah.
and then they were running towards it or something. Maybe.
Oh, that
And
makes sense. Because, I mean, yeah, Charizard does, like, pick on, like, he has a target, and that's who he fights.
Because I think he was still chasing Pikachu and Raichu.
Okay.
And in his attempts to chase after them, started running into...
Yeah, that big, like, contraption, whatever it was, that they were all
he
Like
started
exercising
flying through
on
the
or something.
air and then crashed his head into the hole.
Right. And then they all have to work together, including with the group that they weren't getting along with and help get Charizard free. And of course, friendship wins overall.
Cubone originally didn't want to help, even though the rest of the mean people essentially were helping.
Stubborn Cubone.
And like Pikachu kept going like Pika Pika, trying sort of talking to Cubone or something like that.
Sure.
And then
Well, yeah, there was no words in this episode except for the very beginning and the very end.
And a couple Pokedex entries.
Oh, that's right. There was the Pokedex entries.
But, yeah.
And then eventually Cubone helps.
Yeah, and of course, all those Pokemon working together wasn't enough until literally all of them were working together.
Yeah. It's a funny visual, too. You see giant Onix and all these Pokemon that are not able to do it, but as soon as little Cubone, that last 1% joins in.
Needs to be 100% to get it.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, and then Ash and Co show back up, and we hear them, but we never see their faces or whatever. Just like
The silhouette.
I think we see some like their hands, their jackets on occasion, maybe their feet or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We never see their faces.
But we never see their faces, which I think is an interesting decision to make in the making of these, like this like Pikachu short, because it's supposed to be like, I think the idea is just like how Pokemon like recognizes the people, because a few years ago I watched ET again as an adult as opposed to growing up watching it all the time, and I noticed that all the adults like at the beginning and all that stuff you only see from like the waist down basically. They have like these close-up shots, so like the bad guy by the jingly keys. You don't even know what he looks like, but just the jingly keys, except for Elliot's mom. Because, of course, children are familiar with their parents. Because it was the idea that it's from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
You don't see what people are. You don't pay attention to that part. So, I think that's kind of what they were going with the Pokemon stuff here, too, with Ash and them. Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I did think they did a good job of explaining the story without words, too. Because I think that when you're watching the show, it can be easy to take for granted that, you just expect the Pokemon to understand what's going on, or when they're just making their noise, Pika Pika. That you're just like, well, I think I know what Pikachu was saying. But then when you actually have to see them communicate with each other without hearing the words.
Without anybody translating or anything.
Meowth was also talking in this episode.
Oh, that's right. Meowth talks too.
He's like, quiet down.
It's okay. There was a lot more words than I remember. But still, there was a lot of communication and storytelling without them. But I mean, like, that's definitely a storytelling thing that people have accomplished for years. Like, I mean, Tom and Jerry, right? They don't talk. Every once in a while you get the voice of the lady that... Or not, that's... I'm thinking Tweety Bird for that one. But still, there's just all the action and fun. Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, right? No words. You don't need them.
Yeah.
You can still tell a story without it.
They don't say any words, but they do scream a lot. Like, ow!
Oh, sure. All right. Anything anybody else liked about the show or wanted to talk about or bring up? Nope.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Then we will move on to the little prequel prologue for the movie, the origin or birth of Mewtwo, depending on where you've seen it and stuff. I think it's had both titles.
A sad story.
It is sad. We get some so like first off we have Dr. Fuji, which I think is interesting because there's a Mr. Fuji in the game. Do you remember Mr. Fuji, Frink?
I don't.
He is in Lavender Town. He's like when they go to your house, his house, I think he's not there, right?
I think so, that's
Yeah,
right.
because it's not until you finally can get up to the top of Pokemon Tower after you get the Silph Scope and stuff, and then he's up there and talks to you.
Okay.
Because he's the one who gives us the Pokeflute.
Oh, sure, okay. Yep. I do remember that.
But yeah, he's Mr. Fuji. So we have Dr. Fuji. And yeah, so we have Dr. Fuji and his gang of scientists exploring ancient ruins in what does look like it could be a South American location, which, if you remember some of the research notes in the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, they mentioned discovering Mew in South America somewhere. Granted,
Why South America?
because that's what they picked, and back then they still pretended that Pokemon existed in the real world-ish, I guess.
Yeah.
We've moved away from that, but...
We can touch on that a little bit more later. I got comments from the movie about that.
Oh, okay. I'm interested. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things like that, because I know in future episodes there's a whole thing where they go to Hollywood. Oh, and then Lieutenant Surge in the game. He's the Lightning American. So, like, there's a lot of references to America existing, at least.
Real world.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what they say, in Japan, right? What are the, are there different references?
Possibly. That's a good point. I think because Lieutenant Surge is like that military thing and everything, and we had military people out in Japan for like, I think that might be what they're referencing, but I don't know for sure. Now I'm kind of curious and want to look it up. Because in the movie they did show, and that originally came out in Japan, that it was a South America place. So I mean that must have been the way it was in the original version too. It was referencing South America.
Yeah.
Is my guess. So they find an image of Mew, which, what do you call that all the time? Egyptian Mew. Even though it's not Egypt. And so yeah, they see that like thing. I think we even see Mew floating around somewhere, don't we? In the jungle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's outside the little window hole thing.
Yeah, so they don't find Mew himself, but they find like evidence of Mew and must be able to get, Mew cells or whatever.
Wait, is Mew a girl or a boy?
I don't know.
We don't ask these questions.
Is there only one Mew?
That we see, at least.
Like only one tiny. There's Mewtwo.
Right. I mean, in Pokemon Go, I have at
shiny
least
Mew
two
and a
Mew
Mew.
because I have a Mew and a shiny Mew.
The voice of Mew and Mewtwo makes it seem like Mew is a girl and Mewtwo is a boy. But
I mean, I could see that. I guess the Mew noise to me just made it sound like it was tiny and cute. Doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Like a little kitten. So then we see them back at the labs working on their experiments and their creation. There's a lot of talk about how the experiments look like they're beginning to succeed, but they always ultimately fail. Like the previous experiments and stuff, they keep failing, even when they look like they're going to work. And then we find out the reason Dr. Fuji has the funding to conduct these experiments is because Giovanni wants a superior clone of Mew. So he's funding the experiments that Dr. Fuji already wanted to be working on. And we learn that he wanted to be doing that because we get some flashbacks to his history.
He had a little girl who died, and so he was trying to clone her.
Right. And how did that go for his relationship with his wife?
Not very well. I think they got divorced. Or
She
something.
left him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it ever says they specifically got divorced, but you know that she left, and we see like his lab turn like run down, and he's obviously by himself, kind of thing. So you know that like she's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Became obsessed with his work.
Yep, he was obsessed with it because he wanted his daughter back. So he ended up sacrificing even more of what he had going for him. So then we get a glimpse into the mind of young Mewtwo. He's a tiny little Mewtwo, right? So yeah, then inside there, he's trying to figure out what is going on. Like he has no idea. Like he's basically just being bored, right? So he's like trying to figure out what anything is. And I think that's when the little girl shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And starts explaining things to him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also... does she take him to the town first before the others show up? Or is it the others show
The
up?
others show up.
Okay.
And they play a little.
So then Bulbasaur and Charmander and Squirtle, the three starters, but with strange markings on them, I think. They had like lines and stuff.
Yeah.
They all show up and hang out and play, and it's all good. And then she takes him to an image of her town that she grew up in, that she remembers, and explains more about who she is and where they came from and all this stuff. And meanwhile, I think in the labs they're seeing like the spikes they're hoping to see in like brain activity and stuff, right?
I don't think that they're seeing good things. Like they see Mew's thing spiking really high and it's bad, so they have to put some medicine in there or something to make it stop.
Oh, you think so?
They
to
do that.
reset
Oh.
his memory.
Okay. I don't remember. I guess. I know that like they were happy to see the life signs that they wanted, but they didn't want to get too excited because they've seen that before, and then it all drops and they die, or it goes too high and they die, or whatever it is. And then it seems like that's happening again, and we get the three starters disappearing first, and of course Mewtwo doesn't know what's going on.
He's like, "Where are you going?"
And then the little girl says her goodbyes too and disappears.
And he's like, "What are these?"
Yeah, when he's crying.
Yeah.
Because
he doesn't know what tears are.
Because he's asking what everything is.
Yeah, because he's still learning. So while he's learning what life is, he also gets friendship and then like tragedy within minutes. So you can understand why he might be angry.
Well, and the girl, didn't she say something kind of meaningful to him before she disappeared? Something about the humans?
She did. I think I remember something along that, because my thought was, because I watched the movie first, and I was thinking that what she says is a lesson that he learns more by the end of the movie, because he obviously didn't really learn it very well at this point. So I thought it was a little weird, I think. But I don't remember what it was she said.
He forgets everything.
Does he forget everything?
Uh-huh.
Do they, like,
Oh
kinda
yeah,
reset
that's why
him.
they put the medicine in there, because he's crying and it's spiking up, and they put a medicine in there so that he
Makes him
forgets.
lose his memory.
That makes sense.
And then he's just alone.
Which means that the story is kind of pointless overall. Just tells us how he got where he was in other areas.
Yeah, more of a story about the doctor.
Yeah, it would be more about his arc, because of course he loses everything too, because the spark that he was able to keep of his daughter also ends up going away by the end. Which is tragic. And then I think by the end of the episode we skip ahead to like what happens in the movie a little bit, where he's waking up and they're all excited. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where he's grown. And that's pretty much that, but it's very sad, because Mewtwo goes through a lot of tragedy and then supposedly forgets about it.
Well, he's still like just essentially upset. Like there's still
There's
sadness.
a lingering anger, he just doesn't understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was just sort of thinking about something where like
That's actually cooler. No,
they're all meeting up and playing and stuff, almost like what you do at a birthday party, and then it's sort of his birthday because he's just being born.
Yep. So very tragic. Tragic for Dr. Fuji. And we now have some deep-seated anger inside of Mewtwo. Which I guess then explains why he breaks out right away. Not that we needed an explanation for that. He was some clone monster, so a monster breaking out of a lab is, typical sci-fi fare.
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting is when they come back to Mewtwo in the real world, or all the other clones that were next to him are gone.
Right.
To show, probably to suggest that they failed.
Right.
Right, and I think you probably assume that when they disappear in the state that they were in was them taking them out of the canisters, thinking the clones had failed.
They did fail.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you were trying to allude that the other ones in the movie were the same clones, which I don't think they are.
No, I was thinking then in the movie, Mewtwo succeeds.
Oh, right.
Like he found whatever didn't work. But what's interesting is, we'll talk about it, but the ones in the movie had the same markings as the ones.
Yes. Well, I think that, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So then we have Pokemon the movie. Well, I think it's Pokemon the first movie they call it, maybe.
Yep.
Or is it just the movie? No, I don't remember.
I think it is the first movie. I think it's a little subtext.
And then then right after that, Mewtwo Strikes Back. So it's kind of a long title, almost a Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice kind of thing. A mouthful. So we start the movie with that scene of the doctors all congratulating each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And making Mewtwo, but then of course the glass starts cracking and explodes, and he escapes, and the lab is explodey.
So in the original one, a ton of like these electrical claw things come down to make sure he stays, and of course he just breaks them. But in the evolution one, it's just like 4 that tries to grab him.
Is that in this scene, or is that the other escape scene?
What?
In this one,
I
at the
thought he just-
beginning, because he gets conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and then the doctors realize it. He breaks himself out because he's like, I should be out there with them. And then he communicates with the doctors. At first,
That's right. There's that communication.
It's really tame at first, and the doctors are kind of explaining, who he is, where he came from, and he doesn't accept the fact that he was just created by humans. That this can't be who I am.
Right.
And then it turns darker. He gets mad.
Yeah.
He explodes it, and he doesn't like humans, and then he...
Yeah, I know he explodes
Flies
the
away.
building. Well, he doesn't fly away. He's still on that same island, because then Giovanni's helicopter arrives with Giovanni, and they talk over the chasm, and Giovanni basically talks him down.
Oh, when he tries to escape from Giovanni.
That's what I was thinking.
No, it's in this first one where the claws come down.
Oh, okay. So the claws happen in this scene.
There's like a ton of claws in this one, and then in evolution it's just like 4.
Interesting.
Must have been interesting for Giovanni, because as soon as Mewtwo wakes up, the doctors are excited and they say, "Oh, let Giovanni know,
Right.
get a hold of his helicopter right away." He's probably thinking that he's going to show up to something successful, when really Mewtwo is angry.
Honestly, I think in Giovanni's mind, he probably thought it was successful still. He got there. Mewtwo's there. He doesn't care about the doctors at this point.
Yeah.
They succeeded at what they needed to do. He got his Mewtwo.
True. Yeah.
And he even convinces Mewtwo to go work for him.
Yeah, he
Well,
convinces him pretty
He
easily.
convinces him to be partners.
You are
Equals.
correct.
Partners.
He convinces Mewtwo of that thought process while actually thinking that now I have my Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get after that talk, he's convinced Mewtwo or whatever, and Mewtwo gets like the armor stuff, and Mewtwo even explains that like he knows what the armor does, like it suppresses his powers and stuff.
But Giovanni's just like, it just channels its power.
Right.
Tricks him into thinking it helps him to control it.
I once got this little toy, and at first I thought it was Mewtwo, but it had like this metal stuff on it, so I was so confused. Like, it looks almost like Mewtwo, but it's not. And then when I was watching the movies again, I'm like, wait, it's just the armor from the movies. It's still Mewtwo.
Right.
Well, then you just started calling it Mewtwo from the future.
Mewtwo from the future.
Well, it was cool in Pokemon Go. They incorporated that because you could catch a version of Mewtwo that looks normal, but then they also had armored Mewtwo.
Oh, really?
In raids that you could catch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I missed those. I probably wasn't playing during that period.
Of those Mewtwo.
Maybe I could trade you one. We'll see.
Oh, okay.
I need one.
After we become best friends, so it's cheaper.
You got it.
So after the explanation of the armor and stuff, I think that's where we get like the montage of scenes of how Mewtwo is being used for Giovanni. We see him battle like at the gym in Viridian City.
I saw Gary.
This before the Gary one though. I think we just get like him battling some no-name person, and I forget what Pokemon he's using. Onyx, I think.
Yeah, Onyx.
Yeah. And then we see him like help catch a bunch of Tauros by just levitating them, and all the Team Rocket guys just throwing their Pokeballs at him. It's like, why do you guys want a bunch of Tauros? Like, what is this about? They just want to be like Ash. Yeah. You know about that episode? The Safari Zone episode where he catches a bunch of Tauros?
Oh, yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it was a banned episode. So it was all in Japanese when we watched it or whatever. But, like, he's got the Safari Balls just like you would have, right? Because those are the only ones you're allowed to use. And he keeps trying to catch other Pokemon. But they just hit Tauros.
At first, he does purposely catch a Tauros.
Yes.
And then...
And then we only see him try one other time where he's trying to something
there's
else.
another Pokemon and he throws it at the Pokemon and then the herd of Tauros run by and he catches another Tauros.
But we know when he talks to Oak later that all his Safari Bowls, so all 30 of them or whatever, are just Tauros. So obviously that kept happening.
He got the whole herd.
And then they run over Dr. Oak or whatever his name
Professor
is.
Oak.
Professor.
So apparently Giovanni just wanted to be like Ash or something. I don't know. Just wants Tauros.
Well, there was a bunch of them, not just one of them. A bunch of Team Rocket, not just one.
Oh, that's true. But they're all catching it for Giovanni. I mean, that's what Jesse and James are supposedly trying to do, is catch Pokemon for him that he wants.
Yeah, everything is for Giovanni.
Right, because he's the leader. And then, yeah, after the Tauros, I think is when we go back to the gym again, and this time we see like the back of Gary from his battle from the episode Battle for the Badge, where he's using like his Well, he uses two Pokemon at once against Mewtwo.
Queen
and Arcanine, right? Is it Arcanine? Arcanine?
Arcanine.
I think I say Arcanine.
Okay.
It's
I say
Arcanine.
I mean, obviously it's taking the canine part, but
Yeah.
they always play with the pronunciation.
Arcanine.
It probably should be Arcanine.
Doesn't matter.
I say Arcanine.
Arcanine.
Okay. But then after that stuff, we see Mewtwo back in like his holding area, I guess, with his armor, and he's having a conversation with Giovanni, and he's like, "This is not right. I don't like this. We're not." And of course, Giovanni's like, "You're a Pokemon. You belong to people. This is how it is." Yep. And Mewtwo doesn't accept that, so he breaks out, and we see him pop out the building, just like we see in that anime episode.
I'm trying to remember how it tried to capture him, because I feel like it did, or maybe it's just in the evolution one, because his armor, his gloves almost like do this, and then
That's right. They lock in.
And then there's these big things, which I don't see how they would do that, because they're like this instead of like this.
Yeah, his armor is a little different in the evolution one. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Acts more like restraints.
Yeah, so like, because when he's trying to argue or break out, like, he's like this, but then like it magnetizes basically, so his wrists come together and his feet come together. But he still breaks out because he's Mewtwo.
He's Mewtwo. He can break out.
But then in that episode, the Pokemon at the OK Corral, which again we see the Tauros again.
The Poke Corral.
Is that? Oh, did I say OK Corral?
It said Pokemon at the OK Corral. Is what you said.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Showdown at the Poke Corral. Thank you. I don't know what I'm talking about. But before we get to all that stuff, we see Team Rocket show up at Team Rocket headquarters, and we see Mewtwo shoot out the top of the building, shedding his armor and stuff. Yeah. So,
which is cool.
It was just cool to see some of the same scenes from the cartoon and or very different points of view of the scenes in the movie.
It's awesome when they do that. I just recently listened to that podcast episode where we were talking about the Poke Corral.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have never remembered.
You're right. So then I think like he escapes after that speech. Then he lands somewhere and gives a little bit more dialogue, doesn't he? Basically explaining how he's. And then we get like after he finishes it, it gives us the title of Mewtwo Strikes Back.
I think he lands on the island where the lab was.
That could be.
Because I think I remember.
Oh no, he lands on New Island where he creates his new place.
I thought that was where the lab was.
Is it the same place?
It could be.
I think so.
That would make sense to go back where he knew and then where he was born basically and create his own. Well, it makes actually a lot of sense because that's also where he creates the cloning facility then, which would be in the ruins of the old cloning facility.
He just took like the pieces and stuff.
Makes sense.
Except Mewtwo instead of human.
But yeah, he's not happy with humans at all. And I don't know if he says it here or not, but he definitely isn't happy with the way Pokemon allow themselves to be controlled by humans. So he's mad at Pokemon too.
Yep.
So then we get the cool like late 90s, early 2000s kind of logo that they think is super cool looking and now looks kind of cheesy of Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But in like the Mewtwo Strikes Back evolution, it's like the words like almost how they're stamping them on. And then...
Probably looks a little better.
And so then we finally catch up to our main characters, right? Ash and Brock and Misty.
And Ash is
hungry, right?
Starving.
Yeah. They're always hungry.
Can't barely move.
Yeah, he can't move. can't help with anything.
No, he does help for a little bit, and he's like, I can't move another muscle.
Right. Until
a trainer comes.
Until a trainer comes.
Are you Ash of Peloton? Does that mean we can have a battle? And then he's like, sure, I can have a battle or whatever.
Right. And Misty calls him out. It's like, I thought you were too tired.
Yeah, Brock says, well, at least it's progress. His mouth is working.
Yes. So funny. Oh, good stuff. So yeah, then he gets into a really cool battle and we get the Pokemon theme song. The whole song.
Yeah.
Not just the first verse, but both verses.
Yep.
And it's a different version of the song. And in Evolution, it's even another different version of the song, but it's still the theme song. So like, we don't get the one from the anime cartoon, we get it redone. And then in Evolution, we get it redone again.
I can't remember if this happened in the original one, but in Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, like Bulbasaur uses Vine Whip, and then the Pokemon that he was fighting turns into a ball and like uses the vines as a ramp, sort of.
I think I remember what you're saying. Yep. Yeah, and we get another Johto Pokemon here in Doniphan, right? That's the one that is, right?
I think so.
Which is an evolution of Phanpy?
Correct.
Phanpy? I don't know.
I say Phanpy. But...
Alright, that's what I usually say, so. But I didn't know for sure. But, so we have more second-gen Pokemon showing up. And so I was wondering if this guy must at least have traveled to Johto or something since he has one. I wonder, maybe he's the same owner of the Snubbull and Meryl, too.
Could be.
We're around the same area. Anyway, they have a really cool fight during the whole song, and I loved being able to hear the whole song for the battle.
Yeah, and the fight is really just a way to let Ash show off.
Well, sure,
right, for the Mewtwo spine.
Yeah, because once the battle is over and the guy's like devastated that he lost, we get a delivery, right, from Dragonite.
Well, at first I think he's like Mewtwo and some mysterious person is with him, are talking and like showing, like during the battle there was a bird flying around with something on its neck, which was a camera, was watching them.
Oh, the Fearow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
And then and then she's like, should I invite them too, Master, as you command? And then the bird, Dragonite comes and delivers something.
Yeah, because the Dragonite has like a messenger satchel, right?
Yeah.
I got my little rock that is that thing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, how do you know it was Mewtwo? We didn't see Mewtwo's face or anything.
Yeah, and we didn't even hear anybody talk. You just hear the servant ask the question, and then it's silence.
Yep.
And then says, "As you wish."
That was pretty cool, actually. Yeah. And I think part of that is like I don't think they intended to reveal Mewtwo and what he looked like at the beginning of the movie originally. And so you only get like the glimpse of his hand and stuff there. Because there was no real reason to keep it a secret at that point. But because of the delay in the episodes where he escapes from the headquarters and stuff, those aired after the movie came out. But they were supposed to come out before the movie came out to help us explain where this Pokemon comes from. So we only see him in armor in the anime, so you still don't get the full look. And then the movie comes out, and he's making the commands and stuff like that, so we don't see him until he reveals himself once all the trainers are there.
His hand does this.
Yeah, but of course, that was all changed, so we get an explanation of where the heck this guy came from.
Yep. One interesting thing, Wizards of the Coast made a special Pokemon card of Dragonite being a delivery guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's
awesome. Actually pretty popular card.
That's not too surprising, actually.
So, yeah.
I have a Dragonite I got from an event in Pokemon Go that has like almost like steampunk goggles, I think, or something, and like a bow tie and stuff. I'm like, I love this guy. Dragonite's fun to dress up. I always hated Dragonite, like the way he looks, because Dratini is super cute. Dragonair is pretty cool looking, and then he turns into Dragonite. This color scheme doesn't make any sense or nothing.
Way different.
He has arms, legs,
wings, everything.
Well, they sort of had the wings on their head when they're like Dratini and Dragonite.
Yeah.
They also, I think, when the movie was first released, they gave out Ancient Mew cards. When you go to the movie,
I've definitely heard of Ancient Mew cards.
Yeah. I want an Ancient Mew card.
Just the picture that you see on the wall in the short.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we get the little RSVP little card or whatever.
Yeah. Mark yes or no.
Right.
Well, I think in Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, it's like this hologram of the servant. And Brock
that is first. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. Brock thinks.
I think it's in both, yeah. And he makes, his Brock comments about her.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he also, does he mention that she looks familiar in the scene too?
Not
I think
I
think he mentions that she looks familiar when they see that
Joy is missing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At the big.
Well, it's actually, I think it's when they first see her on the island that he says she looks familiar, and then
I think on the island is when he puts the pieces together. He's like, "You're the Joy from wherever."
Because I thought he was just saying, "Oh, she's pretty," like, "Can we watch that again? Rewind it." He's making comments.
Right.
And then, I mean, we'll get to it, but when they get to the ferry, where they're told the ferry's closed and they show Joy on the wall. Maybe he does in that scene.
He does.
Say,
he's like,
because I think he does, because it's like, well, of course she looks familiar.
Yeah.
She's Joy.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, like it's
so
like.
At first he's like, she's pretty, and then she's like, and then he's like, wait, she looks familiar.
Yeah, you're right. Which is funny, like you said. And they obviously know what they're doing, because every Joy looks the same.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about that when we get to that scene.
Sure.
Because I thought that was.
Well, the Joys have different crosses on their hats or whatever.
Yeah, usually the Joys and throughout the anime have their little hat, the color
and
changes.
The officers,
and
stuff. Officer Jennies have different
symbols
shapes
on their hats.
I always try to look at that when I see Officer Jenny.
So yeah, we got the RSVP thing and the hologram lady who Brock was obsessed with. So then Dragonite flies off with the thing, right? But then it falls down into Team Rocket's hands.
Yeah, Team Rocket stops Dragonite.
Oh, they stop him.
Yeah.
With the pan. Flying pan. In one.
They used a frying pan?
Yeah,
Jesse's like, I have a
Dragonite with the pan.
They're like this, and then it shows nothing about them stopping because it dropped something, and they're like, what's this?
Because they wanted to know what he was doing with the Turtwarps.
Sure.
Twerps.
Because they're always wanting to know what's going on with them. Not that the card tells them like anything.
It just says yes or no.
I know. It's so dumb.
Tell them anything.
Well, I thought there was like something on the back.
Maybe. But the card looked pretty generic overall. But then, so yeah. With that information, they head off to the little harbor town place that they have to go to. Did it have a name?
I'm not sure what it was, but what was interesting is they literally said, this afternoon the ferry will leave. And it's like, so they needed to have been close by wherever the town was that was going to take them to this new island to see the greatest Pokemon trainer ever. But I don't know what the town was.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it had a name or not. It probably does, but I mean, they go through a lot of towns with names in the anime, despite those towns never existing in the game. But and not all of them have color names like they're supposed to, because in Kanto games they're all colors. Anyway, they get to this place. There's a storm brewing, so the ferry won't leave. They're all locked up in that building, basically, or not necessarily locked, but
Like a ton of people are there.
yeah, Jenny's telling them that they can't take the ferry. And of course, there's some other trainers there that were obviously planning on going that are outspoken. I mean, I think a lot of the trainers are there for it, but the outspoken ones are the ones we'll see later.
Yeah. And there was another lady there that I didn't recognize.
She was supposed to be like, I don't know, the mayor?
She's just in charge of the boats and the seas and stuff.
Oh, like the harbor master or something. That's right. And she's like, nope, we're not letting anybody leave.
And the police person.
Officer Jenny?
Officer Jenny's like, and if you try to use your Pokemon, you cannot heal them because
Joy's gone.
Joy's not here.
Yeah, Nurse Joy went missing months ago.
I think it was
Weeks.
I think it was a month.
2 weeks ago.
2? 3?
2.
Two?
Or I think later on she says she was.
Nonetheless.
It wasn't like super long, but it was a decent period of time.
To be missing. It's more than just a couple days. Of course, the trainers are like, well, we're still going to go. And they all take their own different Pokemon to cross the sea. What do they all use? One uses a Gyarados?
One uses
One
a
uses-
Pidgeot or something to fly over
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
all.
One is on the Dugong.
Dugong.
Oh, yeah.
But they did show before this. They showed that Mewtwo was the one that created the storm.
Yeah, with this.
Right, with this twirly hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And during that scene is when they show Mew awakening. When he's making the storm, Mew wakes up in its bubble in a river somewhere.
That's
A lake.
right.
It's
A lake?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, water anyway.
Yeah.
So Mewtwo activates some powers and seems to connect with Mew then. Because, I mean, obviously they're connected.
Yeah. And I don't think they show where Mew was, but it wasn't anywhere near where they are. It was like more of a tropical type setting. Because when it comes
Probably
out of
South
the water,
America.
it's... Yeah.
Sorry.
No. South America.
Okay, but then Ash wants to get over there too, but he doesn't try to jump in with any of his Pokemon because none of them probably could do it.
Yeah, one of them says they're not strong enough, right? So one of the, like either Misty or Brock, someone says our
Misty.
Pokemon aren't strong enough.
I mean, Charizard would be, but that's not going to go well.
And then Team Rocket comes in this, like, Viking sort of thing. And they're like, we'll take you there. But in Evolution, they come in, like,
A little boat that they have to use the pedals.
it's like a Pokemon. Lapras. It's a Lapras where they all hop in and riding instead of, like, a Viking thing.
That's right, and they wear like little sailor costumes.
Yeah.
Instead of the Viking costumes they're wearing
And
this time.
Jesse's hair was different instead of, like, this.
Yes, they actually changed their hair for that one.
And
It's a rare occasion that they do that.
One of Ash or Misty or Brock were surprised that there's still Vikings around.
Yeah, this was one of the things that I wanted to specifically talk about.
All right.
Because you're right, yes. Like Brock says, oh, I didn't know Vikings still existed. And then Ash says, they only live in Minnesota.
Yep, I love that joke.
And I just remember thinking, like, this almost takes you out of the world a little bit when you're watching it, because it's like, oh man, there's no Pokemon anywhere, but somehow these regions exist on Earth, right? And that's why they're talking about South America, like you were talking about earlier.
And now we have Minnesota,
And now we're talking about Minnesota, you know?
I wonder if they said the same thing in Japan, like.
I mean, it would make sense because I don't know where else they would say. Because do you understand the joke, Ruby?
Yeah, Vikings are a football team.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you knew for sure because we don't really follow a lot of football around
Yeah,
here.
they're a football team. I forgot.
Yep.
that.
And they're from Minnesota.
But I know the joke about my aunt being a traitor with the
Oh,
Vikings.
sure.
Yeah. So it is just interesting to think that they obviously made that conscious choice to say that the Pokemon regions exist on Earth.
Right. And I don't think, well, so like with the South America stuff and the video game stuff, it seems to suggest, okay, yeah, we're doing that. But like, as far as like the Minnesota joke, that was just because it was a joke that they could easily tell that would get some laughs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it'd be like, oh yeah, people will find this funny if they understand. Not necessarily to say, yes, we are in the real world.
No, I think most people probably would take it as a joke.
Right.
You know, we live in the area.
Exactly.
So it's like, oh.
Yeah, that joke, it's really fun, especially when you are exactly in that area. I really liked how the little Viking ship also had Meowth's role for the Viking ship.
I laughed. I laughed pretty good.
He's
Super
just
still
tied
on
on
the front
there.
of the boat.
Like, he doesn't even look carved, so it's not even really, like...
It's
But
like,
Ash and them always fall for it, so...
the only reason they'd have him there is they'd have to hide him, right? They couldn't have him be... Well, they would fall for it anyways if they just had him be
They would
someone
do-
else in the boat.
They so would.
They're
Good
not
stuff.
the smartest group.
No.
But the disguises don't last long.
Nope. The trip doesn't last long on the boat either, because the storm is way too violent for that little thing, and yeah, they all get washed out. And fortunately, Misty has Staryu, and to help her get out of, sail through that. Forget what how did Brock get? Because Ash has
I
Squirtle.
think they all.
Or did they all just grab Misty?
I think
Squirtle did jump out too.
Okay.
They also use Squirtle for sure.
Brock and Misty got out of the water while Ash was still down there. He used Squirtle to get back up.
That makes sense.
And then they just kind of.
And then they end up in like the eye of the storm, basically, where it's all around them because they're at the island where it was created.
I think Ash used Squirtle and Brock and Misty just
Yeah, that makes sense.
both hang on to one of the star suns.
Because Brock is weak to water because he has his rock Pokemon, and then he got Vulpix, who's a fire Pokemon. So
Well, he does have a fighting type. Geodude.
so dumb.
And
Geodude
then-
is not a fighting type.
And then she gets a card of
Yes.
Geodude as
Yes.
a fighting type.
Yup.
Yeah.
Anyway, he does have a Zubat though. That is one thing that is not weak to the water.
Could have just flown on that.
Oh yeah, that would have worked. But they get on the island, and the servant lady shows up and leads them up into the main chamber.
Yeah,
Right.
But when she shows up, like they mentioned, Brock recognizes her right away.
Brock's like, "Aren't you Joy?"
Yes, that's right.
And she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've only ever lived here.
Yeah, in her mind, she's
Yeah.
that's the only thing she knows. Because Mewtwo is despicable with his mental brainwashing. He does give it back though. But they so when they enter the main area, they find the other 3 trainers that got through, and we get introduced to their Pokemon teams, which was cool. I just thought it was really cool that they all had 6 Pokemon.
Yeah, and Mewtwo told them to take all their Pokemon out.
That's
Pokemon.
right. Yes, that's why they have them sitting out. As far as those teams go, did anybody have like a favorite team in there?
I'm trying to remember
I
what
think
else.
there was one water team, wasn't there, with a Vaporeon?
It was mostly water. I don't think it was only water, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what all the teams were, but I think that was probably my favorite.
I think there was a girl with a Wigglytuff and all that, and I think she was my favorite.
Oh, the girl with Wigglytuff.
I think she had some other Pokemon that I liked too. I can't quite remember.
I also like that they had nicknames.
I think one of them might have had 9 tails. Maybe not.
I think you're right.
Yes, they do, because when Ash comes back up with all the Pokemon, there is a 9-tails.
Yeah. Venusaur was your favorite team, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember.
Was it Vine or something like that?
No, it's something with Root.
Oh, Root is what it was. He said it twice.
No, Root. No, it's Root Brute, I think.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Brute.
which is a little bit more clever, and I liked it a lot, actually. I kind of liked his name. And then Shell Shocker.
Shellshocker.
Easy one for the
Shellshocker.
Squirtle, or Blastoise. But,
Like Shell Shocker.
but yeah, Root Brute, I think is what it was. Which I like the name. Also, the one... Was it the one... I think it might have been the one with Venusaur. His voice... The voice actor for that one has definitely voiced other characters throughout, and I know from watching Orange Island stuff before, Orange Island, they leave Brock for a while, and they have that other guy, Tracy? Is that his name?
Tracy.
The Pokemon
Yeah.
watcher?
Yeah.
The sketch guy?
His
Yeah.
name is Tracy.
And it's his voice. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
Isn't it also Todd Snap's voice? Or is
I don't
that-
think it's Todd Snap's voice. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think he had a different actor there. Just something I noticed. I'm like, hey, I recognize your voice,
You
man.
point out that voice a few different times.
Yeah, he shows up a couple times in the anime. before Tracy.
I'm sure you guys know this, but the person that does Ash's voice is a woman.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, I told you guys this once. I know it surprised Ruby when I told her. Actually, your mom just found out not that long ago. I'm like, that's also a woman, just so you know. Because she was wondering if the actor had a cold during that episode or something. We're like, no, that's what Ash always sounds like in these first few seasons before they changed the actor.
Yep.
Because 4Kids didn't get to keep doing it, so they lost all the actors that they had for that, which was disappointing. Because some of them didn't want to quit doing it either. They liked voicing who they were voicing, and they had jobs. They changed who was distributing it over here in America, so they ended up with a different company, so then different voice actors and stuff, which is why James doesn't sound as fun as he used to. I love James's voice. It's so
Brock and James were the same voice actor, weren't they?
Did you know that?
Brock and James are the same voice actor? I didn't know that.
What?
It's hilarious. Because they sound so different to a degree, but if you ever pay attention, every once in a while, like Brock that says some stuff where he gets excited or whatever, it's like, James.
I have to listen for him.
It's sort of funny because that YouTube channel where it's Shiloh and Bros, they made this Pokemon sort of thing, and instead of Ash being one of the boys, it was Shiloh, which is a girl.
Oh, sure. But she's the younger one, right? So, of the group. Yeah.
Sort of.
Anyway, so we get introduced to all the other teams and the other trainers, and Mewtwo then finally reveals himself along with his assistant, and that's around the same time where I think he finally releases her too.
Yeah, that she served her purpose.
Mm-hmm. Because now they're all there. And, of course, they all take offense to the idea that a Pokemon is supposed to be a Pokemon trainer.
Yep.
But they can't stand up to him. They try to throw their different Pokemon at him and get flung off.
Immediately.
Like Gyarados and stuff.
Yep.
Right on the guy.
Something,
Yeah, I think
something
so, yeah.
I noticed.
Rhyhorn, maybe. One of them, but yeah.
Yeah.
The original one with the stairs, it's just going in a circle, but in Evolution, it's almost like two staircases where it's almost like a DNA.
Yeah, it looks like the DNA symbol. Yep. Which is pretty cool. There's a lot more of the DNA imagery throughout. Even in the title for Evolution, they have the DNA symbol somewhere in there. But, and Team Rocket during all this is snuck in too. They first come up and they're seeing everybody in the main chamber, but they're like, well, we're not going that way. So then they look and go through like a little sewer pipe type thing.
Yeah, make a joke. They're like, oh, we can't go through there, and tell me I'll have to turn into a catfish.
Yeah, something like that. I also thought it was funny that Meowth was so against the sewer thing after the whole grimy city, grungy city, I don't remember what it was called, but that city where they dealt with all those Grimers and Mucks. He was the one who was in the sewer and sending Jesse and James into the muck there with suits on, sure, but then of course that didn't work out.
Why didn't it work out again?
Because something ended up clenching the pipe that put in the oxygen into their suits so that they didn't have to smell all the disgustingness as well. So they had no oxygen and they could smell everything while they're sitting down there. It was good times. Anyway.
Like in the Dratini episode where they do the same sort of thing except Jessie is on top and she steps on the thing because she finds Dratini and then they scare it off because they couldn't breathe.
Yep. But then while everybody's dealing with Mewtwo upstairs, Team Rocket finds the cloning chamber and
it grabs Meowth.
It grabs Meowth and takes some of his whiskers, so it has Meowth DNA, and then it puts the silhouette on the screen, and they're like, "Who's that Pokemon?" So we got some references to that from the anime, which was a little fun because they do it again later on too.
Who's that Pokemon?
But then we see the clones come out, and the way the clones device works is very interesting animation. It seems very. Have you ever watched any like Studio Ghibli kind of films, like My Neighbor Totoro and stuff like that?
Yeah, I like My Neighbor
Totoro. A lot of those has this, like, you'll notice when the clones come out of the machines, they just kind of like loop out, like almost like it's a bubble of some kind that they just step out. Like it doesn't make it's not very mechanical seeming, very living organism. And that style is definitely found in a lot of those kinds of movies too. So it's definitely a very Japanese animation-y kind of thing. Like at least back then.
The bottoms sort of just turned to ooze and they sort of walked through it. It was so...
Yeah. Rosilla really didn't like it. And she's like, I much prefer the normal way of the remake version where the machines just kind of open and release them. So yeah. back upstairs before these clones get released, they end up challenging Mewtwo to a battle or something, don't they?
Yeah, Ash says something like, "Oh, we're not gonna let you
Yeah,
get away with this,"
sure.
or something. Because I think it was then too that Mewtwo kind of gave his speech about what his intentions were to bring everyone there.
Yep.
You know, and his plan to kind of destroy the world and rid it of humans, and he even makes a comment too of ridding it of the Pokemon because
That they have because they're pathetic. Yeah.
Yep. You know, why would they let themselves be servants to humans?
Pikachu and Mewtwo have a chat too, where they're like, "Pika, Pika, Pika," and he's like, "You're not his servant, sort of thing, but you're like his friend."
And he's like, "You're pathetic."
You're pathetic.
But of course, even Ash puts his body in danger, like he always does, to like catch Pikachu and help him out. But Mewtwo hasn't quite picked up on the truth of that yet.
Yep.
And so then they're gonna pit their Pokemon against his clone Pokemon of Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise, which all have markings on them, kind of like the.
Gyarados was in there too.
No, there was
It's a clone.
Nope.
no. That's later.
Eventually.
He only has three starter clones with the strange markings, which look just like the markings on the 3 starters in the Birth of Mewtwo. Because they all put their you would think there would be a 4th one because there's technically 4 trainers. There's 6 trainers 6 trainers total, but Misty and Brock really don't do anything there. And one of the 3 trainers that isn't Ash doesn't have one of the final evolution forms so Ash can step in. So it's Ash and then the one that has Shell Shocker and the one that has Root or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And the only reason Ash's Charizard fights is because he wants to prove he's better than the other Charizard.
As he always wants to, yeah. But he's not the first one to go. It's first we have...
Blastoise.
I think it was
Venusaur.
Venusaur.
I thought so.
I think it was Venus.
Oh yeah,
first.
Venusaur and then Blastoise.
And then Shell Shocker.
Yeah, and then
And then Charizard.
Ash says something like, "Mine doesn't have a nickname."
Yes, yeah.
But I do have Charizard.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, so nickname the men. I get why they probably don't, just so that the people that watch the Pokemon all the time will be like, I know what Pokemon that is.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't name them. But still, I like the nicknames. So, yeah, but they all kind of, they lose pretty quick. Charizard puts a decent fight in there, but he also ends up losing.
And they sort of go up.
Yeah, they go flying for a bit.
And Ash tries to give him some pointers of how to be more successful. And
It seems like, I thought Charizard tried to listen a little. It seemed like he listened a little bit about that. Like, when he's like, make sure you're going fast. And Charizard seems to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. Like, oh, hey, maybe we're getting somewhere finally. He's taking a little advice.
Because Mewtwo does mention that, your Charizard is poorly trained.
Yes.
Because he wasn't listening for some of the other
Exactly. Yeah, Ash keeps getting called out on his poor training abilities.
So Mewtwo wins pretty easily.
Yep, and I think, is that when Mew shows up?
Not yet, because...
Or is it...
Shows up when the rest of the clones
Oh, that's when the clone thing happens.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because the next thing is when Mewtwo says, "Well, I beat you, so that means I get to catch your Pokemon."
Right, and they're like, you can't catch our Pokemon. They're our Pokemon. But that doesn't matter. He's these special black Pokeballs that start flying through and start catching all the
Well,
Pokemon.
Ash tries to save 2 of his Pokemon. He's like, well, you can't get them if they're in their Pokeballs, so he catches them.
But it doesn't work. They just the other Pokeballs just zap the other things and pull them out.
I think they took
Or no,
the
they
Pokeball.
takes the little Pokeball. You're right.
Because I remember later how
The
it
black
bounced
Pokeballs
out.
look like they have eyes on them.
Yeah.
Mm.
They have eyes. Like
Maybe
one
that's
eye.
how they know where they're going and catch his eye.
Maybe.
Yep.
I didn't... It was interesting because that breaks all the rules of Pokemon that Mewtwo can do that. Because even in the games, especially in the games, but even in the show, if someone, owns a Pokemon, you can't take it just by throwing another Pokeball at it, especially in the games.
They try sometimes. I mean, they're trying to...
Yeah, in the games, if you try to throw a Pokeball at a trainer's Pokemon, it just...
Have you ever played Pokemon Coliseum?
Yes, I have.
I mean, that's the whole plot of that game.
I guess so. We'll call that a one-off.
Well, there's a sequel to that game.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry. But, so, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable that Mewtwo could probably design a Pokeball that does break the rules. Like, it would be illegal, I'm sure, and they would be in trouble for it, but
Sure.
it's probably technologically possible.
Yeah. Well, and then Brock says, forget about getting them in their Pokeballs, just pick them up and run. Just get them out of there.
Yeah. And then there's the whole sequence where Pikachu is like zapping him down and stuff, climbing up the stairs or ramp or whatever, and Ash is trying to catch up and help.
Also, Misty Pits took a pee in her backpack.
Yep. Yeah, Togepi never has a Pokeball, I don't
I
think.
feel like she tries to protect Psyduck.
She does.
Yeah.
I remember that. She's like, oh, maybe she does care about this Pokemon.
Yeah, but in the end, they all get caught.
Yep. But when Pikachu gets caught, that's when Ash follows.
Because they were all going down this pit or something.
Yeah, they were being sucked down
and
into.
so he just jumped down there.
Yeah.
Like a slide.
Yeah, he jumps down there. Does he jump in the evolution one too, or does he just hang on to one of them and it carries him down that way? Thought there was. Okay, I don't remember.
He just slides right into the little thing as it closes.
Maybe he just holds on for a little bit when he's trying to keep Pikachu and then falls.
Yeah, he does.
Like
Got it.
He wants one of the Pokemon to. He wants to try and get him out, so he grabs
That
onto the
makes
Pokeball
sense.
and falls through.
Okay. But yeah, so then he tries to rescue Pikachu from the cloning machine. He gets inside there.
And is grabbing him, and he's like, "Get me back, back."
But they get all the stuff they need and they clone all the Pokemon, including Pikachu.
But what was really funny about that scene is Ash sees that Team Rocket is standing right there, and he just turns to him and was like, I don't have time for your dumb motto.
Yes,
right now.
that's right. Oh, that was right. Because back on the boat, too, I think when they revealed, they started saying their motto there, too, but it got interrupted.
Yes.
And so then this time he's like, I don't have time for your dumb motto. So they still don't get to say it. Poor Team Rocket.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with that motto. It's like an addiction. They have to say it. But, so yeah. The Pokemon are all captured. They all start getting cloned up. And then, something else is going on back upstairs. We kind of lose track of Ash for a little bit, I think.
I think, is that when... Oh, no, Mew doesn't show
Not
up yet.
quite yet.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's when the clones get released. And they start going upstairs.
Yeah.
And so then we see Mewtwo with his clone army. But then
Ash
Ash gets all the rest of the original Pokemon back out.
And it's really cool walking up.
And they show up after a big explosion as they destroy because they destroyed the cloning area.
Yes.
Psyduck trips, and then other Pokemon walk on top of him.
Oh, when Ash shows up?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize. That's hilarious. But yeah, it's just a cool, like, epic moment where he comes in with the after the explosion, he has the whole
And it
army of
seems
original Pokemon. And the animation there is a little kind of wonky, I think, when he shows up with his thing. It stutters funny. I don't know. I know they're trying to make it look cool, but it kind of loses a little bit of oomph. And this is one of the moments where the remake Evolution does it better.
I bet.
It looks a lot cooler in that scene. Because he comes like out of the smoke or whatever, and then it shows the rest of the Pokemon coming after him too. It's like, oh yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, this fight scene in the original especially, it to me it got hard to know which was which, what was a clone, which wasn't, because the clones at this point, other than the original 3, didn't have any markings on them.
Right? What was that about?
I think some of them might have had markings.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any, because I remember watching them fight and thinking, how are you supposed to know which one was which?
Yeah, the only one that I know that I think they made sure to give it somewhat of a distinction is I think the other Pikachu looks a little bit different, just so that we know which one's the real Pikachu, because he's the star, right?
Yeah, certainly acted quite a bit
Oh,
different.
well, yeah, definitely.
Pikachu's like, you don't need to do this, and then when the other clone Pikachu fell down, then that Pikachu would lift him back up and...
When they were coming back out, so they used flamethrower in the sky.
Yep, cool moment. Yeah, so then, we have the clones versus the regular Pokemon, and then I think in there that's when Mew probably shows up.
Yeah, but don't forget the Psyduck fight. Right?
Don't they just slap each
I think
other?
they each slap each other once and then it's over.
Oh, no, yeah, they slap and then they hold their heads.
I think he
And
keeps
then
saying
they
like a slap, slap, sigh, slap, slap, sigh, over, head over.
Well, they're just getting themselves worked up. It's going to be a devastating attack when they both have the major headaches after that.
Sigh.
I know Ash gets thrown around a little bit by Mewtwo or something, right?
Well, he tries to go attack Mewtwo. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of
Physically.
his own fault.
Yeah.
And then it's after that. Then Mew shows up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Mewtwo and Mew create these little psychic bubbles around themselves, and they just kind of keep bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
their battle looks a little bit more dynamic in evolution
And
as
they're
well.
way up in the sky.
They are. But then, yeah, it looks like all the Pokemon are just, like, getting super weary fighting each other and collapsing, and it's
That
it's
was-
tragic. We get the music to make you feel...
Which makes sense because how do you have, two Pokemon that are exactly equal fighting each other?
Well,
they're just
in
gonna go
Mewtwo's
down
mind,
with
they're not equal. His are superior.
True.
With Meowth and the talking Meowth and the other Meowth, they both pull out their claws and then they're like, those probably hurt, and then they chit-chat for a little bit and it's
Yeah.
like, pretty nice.
Then Joy, I don't remember what happens, but then we see that she's the real Joy, big surprise or whatever. And then she's talking about how Pokemon are not meant to fight this way.
Well, that was hilarious to me, because what she says is, Pokemon are meant to fight.
Yeah.
And then there's a pause. Then she says this way, but like there's enough of a pause that you hear her say that. It's like, excuse me, Joy, I think that's the whole point of Pokemon.
It's like, well, that's what's been happening every single episode to this point.
I know that they're like, they'll not stop fighting until the two, like, leaders basically stop, which is Mew and Mewtwo.
And then the Pikachu battle I also thought was really interesting because Pikachu didn't fight back. All the other Pokemon were like fighting each other and wrestling each other and going back and forth. Well, I guess Meowth also didn't really.
Yeah,
But
he's like, blah, blah, blah.
yeah, he has moments of speculation about how they're all the same and, whatever. More lovey-dovey, feely, cuddly stuff. But yeah, Pikachu just keeps letting the other Pikachu slap him over and over again as it gets super tired, which is interesting. And then, then Mewtwo and Mew are going to have their final blast.
And they start we're about to start blasting at each other, and Ash just runs in between.
Like, stop.
Well, he went to go stop him from doing anything. Not really, I think, registering that he was going to get caught in the middle of the blast, but he does.
And he turns into a statue.
So what do you think about him turning into a statue?
Yeah,
You have some thoughts there?
Yeah, that was. I mean, obviously you don't kill off the main character in a show like that, but what is it? What attacks would they have been doing that would have turned him into stone?
Right?
That's.
So my theory there is that was just to show that he died. I don't think he actually turned into a statue, because like they don't even show him like be all necessarily like statue form or like be able to be chipped or anything like that. Like I just don't think they were going to show actual death. So that was the best way they could show death in a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Because if he was a statue, Pikachu's attempt to revive him don't make any sense. Because what does Pikachu do?
Starts shocking him.
He keeps trying to shock him alive, right? Give him, just like you do with the paddles.
Yeah, and so Pikachu's shocking him and crying, and then all the other Pokemon are like...
Because I sat there analyzing for a bit. I'm like, a statue? That's so weird. And then Pikachu's trying to electrify him. I'm like, you can't electrify a statue. It's a statue.
Yeah, I thought that was weird,
It doesn't
too.
do anything. Granted, they break the rules of rock and electricity and ground all the time in the anime, but
I just assumed that in that moment that was just Pikachu's way of
grieving.
trying to get to him,
Yeah. I do love that moment though, where Pikachu is like desperately trying to, just like in movies where they're like trying to like beat the person's chest back alive and stuff. It's just emotional. It's like, oh man, Pikachu really because Ash died.
Yeah.
It was pretty significant. And of course, Pikachu's actions towards Ash is what gets everybody else, all the other Pokemon, moved as well.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
that's actually another important element that we skipped over, is that lady, the Harbor Master, has that legend she talks about way back when there was a storm or something like that, killed everybody, but then the Pokemon's tears revived everybody. So she already kind of laid the groundwork for Pokemon tears being magical.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we get
And then all
Pokemon
the other
tears.
Pokemon started crying.
And then-
including who also cried over this? Charizard
Yeah,
cried.
Charizard did cry.
The one that's always rebelling against Ash.
And then other two start floating.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then, Ash woke back up, and it seemed to help Mewtwo learn his lesson.
But not all people are bad.
Right.
And then Mewtwo made a big pill and teleported them back to Pokemon Center.
Yes, he did. But this is also after making some comments about how he and his clones will remember as they fly off to wherever they're going to go. But then he's going to erase their memories, which is good. Like, I get it because it makes the anime flow more easily and stuff, but it's also good because Charizard continues to disobey and be a punk later, where it feels like he would have made some growth here, but that growth has now been erased, so I'm accepting of that. But what happens with the portal? Where did they end up?
At the Pokemon Center.
But when?
When Ash got healed.
Yeah, but when did they get there? Like, was it like it's the same time before they left? They're back before they ever went to the island.
Yes.
So they went back in
So
time.
it was like Mewtwo brought them to the point where they were before even traveling to the island in the first place.
So it wasn't just memory erasing; it was also time travel.
And it had to have been time travel because all the other people that didn't try to go to the island weren't wondering what was going on.
Right.
They would have been like, what happened?
Well, because they even make the same comments, right? The lady starts saying the same thing about it being closed in the storm and Jenny and stuff. It just gets interrupted because now Joy's there.
Yes. Yep. So Mewtwo had to have sent them back in time and erased their memory.
Yeah, it seems to suggest to me that Joy might have even gone further back in time to before she even got captured in the first place, because it doesn't seem like there was any kind of surprise that Joy was there, except for us as an audience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting because the characters, they feel that something happened, because they're a little confused, and so like, did Mewtwo not erase everything? Because you would think that they would have just been like, oh, all right, well, we'll just keep going on about their day. But they did make a couple of comments where they kind of recognize like something feels a bit off.
Sure. Well, so now that you're saying that, that's got me thinking. So we talked about the memory erasing of Mewtwo, but it didn't erase everything. He still had the feelings there.
Yeah.
So maybe what he did was some combination of the experiment with mixing it with his own powers that he has too, or maybe it seeped into his powers because they did it to his physical form back when he was still growing, that he was able to accomplish the same feat as that drug they used on him. So they erased the memories, but they still have some feeling. And they also have to wonder how come they're even at that location, since the reason they even went to that place was because of the letters from before.
Exactly.
But Team Rocket is still on the island.
So yeah, Team Rocket's still stuck on the island, which is interesting because they didn't get put back anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if time travel really is the mechanic that's used here, I mean, there's a lot of holes because they just talk about it like, oh, we're just going to erase your memory and put you back on the island, and all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, we're back on the island.
Sure.
Just going about it like nothing happened. But like you said, there's so many elements. I mean, they would have had to have gone through that battle with the original trainer in the beginning, and Furo would have never been there to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Dragonite would have never come to give them the letter. Team
Sure.
Rocket would have never stopped Dragonite to learn that they had to go.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this whole chain of events of they would have had to have remembered something.
Well, Team Rocket was still kind of separate. Oh no, they weren't. They were up there during the battle too. Yeah, I don't know.
I just wonder if the whole memory of all of Pharaoh and Dragonite and everything was erased, and they were just put in a certain spot in time.
Possibly. So I can accept that Mewtwo had this ability to some extent because Mew is supposed to have the DNA of all Pokemon, right?
Celebi, that we're good now?
Yeah, because Celebi is a time-traveling Pokemon, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I could see the connection. If Mew has all of it, and Mewtwo comes from Mew, Mewtwo technically has all of it as well, to some extent, and probably can access Celebi's abilities there.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know enough about Celebi, but
Celebi's cool.
I absolutely can buy into that, and it would explain
some of it at least.
That's how you get to that part of the story.
And instead of the island looking like a rock, it's like has a ton of grass and flowers and stuff.
Yeah, because the whole facility is gone too, isn't it? Yeah, it's all very interesting. Yeah, an interesting conclusion to the movie.
Or the other alternative could just be, maybe Mewtwo just changed the perception of reality, with its psychic abilities. Rather than time travel, it just kind of, just made everyone believe what he wanted them to believe.
Basically, time traveled everybody's minds back to where they were before everything happened. I could see that. While teleporting them back to that area.
Yeah.
That could make sense, actually. I could see that. I could buy into it. And then the storm suddenly breaks apart because Mewtwo's not doing it anymore, and they go on the docks, and Ash sees another, well, this time it's mythical instead of legendary, but another Pokemon up in the sky.
Mew.
Yep, it's Mew. Just like he saw Ho, and of course, once again, nobody really buys into that he's seeing things.
Yep.
Or actually seeing things. They just think he's quote-unquote seeing things. Delusional. A couple other comments. In Evolution, there's a point where I think it's the lady that talks about the legend. She brings up Wingles, and we see Wingles flying around at one point, and they're definitely in the end credits sequence of Evolution as well. This is not in the original one, because the original one, Johto wasn't even out yet, and Wingles are from Ruby and Sapphire, right? Third gen?
Yeah,
What?
they're not second gen.
Yeah, I think they're third gen,
The
or maybe
seagull,
fourth gen even.
The seagull type Pokemon, with the blue.
So they brought in
Stripes.
some further generation Pokemon into it because they could, because they had that information at this point.
Yep.
So I thought that was a little fun trivia. But yeah, that is our coverage of the Pokemon stuff for this week. And next week we will be going into just a bunch of anime episodes as we get closer to the Indigo League tournament. So a lot of training. Well, Ash is supposed to be training, but not actually training most of the time. There's a couple of instances where he does. Alright, so yeah, next week we will be covering episodes 70, 71, 72, 73, 2 Pikachu shorts, Christmas Night, and Kenga games. Episode 74, 75, and 76. So those are Make Room for Gloom, Lights, Camera, Quaction. That's where they make a Pokemon movie. Guess who stars in it? Psyduck. Go West, Young Meowth. That's where we get Meowth's backstory and how an explanation of why he can talk and walk. To Master the Unexpected, The Ancient Puzzle of Pokemopolis, Bad to the Bone, and All Fired Up. And All Fired Up is where they get up to the plateau, so it's right before the actual battles and stuff, which we'll cover in the episode after that. And so our next episode won't actually come out next week, because next week is Valentine's Day, and our family really enjoys the holiday. It's always a big deal for us, but also this year it's going to be a little bit bigger as we welcome another member into the family. So we will be taking a week off, and hopefully things will all go smoothly enough that we will be back again the following week with those episodes. So that just leaves, I think, our Pokemon cards segment, yeah?
Okay.
And I think this week we will just go over the Pokemon we get instead of actually reading the stuff on there, since there's a bunch of us today. Alright, go ahead and smell them. Oh, it smells so good. I love the smell of these cards.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like our personal drug here.
Oh, I've noticed.
Alright,
I feel like he should go first because he's a guest.
that's what I was going to say, yeah. Let our guest, Frank Future, go through his first.
Alright, so first we got a Larvesta, and then a Fungus, a Pidgey,
Basic as you could get.
yep, Yungoos, Crabominable,
I thought he was.
He is, but he's also fighting, I think.
King Gambit.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good name.
Yes.
Ooh, Piggy.
Oinkalone, Meltan.
Ooh. Is that your...
That's.
Or that's just normal?
Yes.
Oh, there's your reverse hollow.
The reverse is Squavet.
They hide.
And the rare is a trainer card, Gita.
Yeah. Well, she's... Yeah, okay. The Paldean, like, leader of the league or something.
With a lightning energy.
Nice.
Or electric.
Whatever. It all works. Yeah. Alright, Bye-bye, you want to go?
Okay. We got a Nacry, Nipple, Shanks, a Luckity.
Yeah, Rookidee. Rosella wants the Rookidee.
I have the evolver.
Yep, Pheasantdale, Vigoroth,
It was slack off.
a Wingaloo, Showpoke,
And that's your reverse hollow, it looks like. Or is it... Oh, you have another one, too.
Pondentolis,
I think I have a Paldean Taurus and it's fire.
Tyranital, and a Waddle Energy.
Very nice.
I like Tyranitar. Pokemon Go.
Go ahead, Rosella.
Okay, so my first Pokemon is Mankey, fighting type. Delibird, water type, even though it's supposed to be ice, I think. Because
Yeah, I think Delibird is a nice Pokemon.
a
but there's-
Super Rod,
Ooh.
a trainer card. Love Disc,
Yeah.
water Pokemon. Ooh, Pyroar. Fire type. Luxury.
Oh, is your Pyroar male or female?
It looks male because it has
Okay.
Luxio. Electric.
Oh, somebody just got a Shinx, didn't they?
Nice. A Luminous Energy. A Quaxley. A Jigglypuff.
Ooh.
Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff.
Weevil.
Oh, yeah. Weavile, I think.
Weavile, Dark type. And a Grass Basic Energy.
Nice. Alright, did you want to go next, Ruby?
Sure. My first Pokemon is Dunsparce, normal type. Noibat, which is a dragon type. Sprigatito, grass type. Quaxley, which is water type. Skiploom, which evolves from Hop-Up, it's grass type. Dendra, which is a trainer card. Palosand evolves from Sandgast, psychic type. Well, Palmy, and I think it's my reverse holo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have the Evolve.
Ooh, what's this?
Pyroar,
Oh,
fire type, but it's like got
that's the
really
full art
cool
one,
art.
right?
Give it to me.
That's cool.
Give it
That
to me.
might be an alternate art version, actually. Those are more rare, I think.
Oh, okay.
I want
It's got
it.
a yellow star. I don't know what that means. I just need it.
Give it to me.
There's
Give it to me. Give it to me.
I don't know enough about this.
So if you look at the number, so the set has 193. This is a
Oh,
secret rare. When
yep.
the number is higher than what the set number is,
That's right.
it's called a secret rare card.
I want it.
Nice. Yeah, I love the secret rare concept because it's like, oh yeah, I see the numbers on my card, but like, especially if you get like an elite trainer box or whatever, it has a book that has everything in it.
Yeah,
So it's not really that secret.
it's a cool concept, but
Yes.
it's not really a secret.
Right. All right, so I have
I
Inkay.
haven't finished.
Oh, you haven't. Sorry,
Ooh.
never mind. Just kidding.
Surledge, which evolves from Charcadet. It's a
Oh.
psychic type.
I think I have both of those.
Cerulege, I believe.
Yeah.
Like Cerulean.
Charcadet, I believe, is a fire type,
Yes, he is.
but evolves into psychic.
Well, it can evolve into two different ways depending. Like, I think the Scarlet and Violet have different evolutions for it.
Yep.
That's cool.
Because remember, there's the Armor Rouge. That's also a Charcadet evolution.
Also a fire type.
Interesting. It's cool. It's got a little shiny edge. It's rare. And then electric energy.
Nice. Alright. I have Inkay, Dark. Toadschool, Fighting type. Houndour, Dark. Ooh, Tadbulb, Electric. Amoongus. Didn't somebody get a Fungus?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, right on. I always love how they look like the Pokemon, the Pokeball
The
thing.
Pokeball on
yeah.
the top, yeah.
Ooh, Seismitoad. Evolves from Politoad, which evolves from a tadpole looking thing, I think. Timepool? I think it's Timepool.
Yeah.
Charmeleon. That got Rosella's attention. Just like,
I think a lot of people are going to want that Charmeleon.
ooh, Magnemite. Reverse Hollow Magnemite. I like that picture too.
That's cool.
Let me see.
And then we got Cryogonal, also hollow. Ooh, and once again I get Entei. I've gotten, what, 3 of them now?
Entei.
That's a cool picture, though.
Let me
The
see your
art was
Entei.
cool.
Let me see your Entei.
Yeah, I think I've gotten this Entei before, this specific type too, so that's fun. And then a Fighting Energy. I am apparently the Entei trainer.
Yeah.
Alright, and that is all we have for you today. So, Roster Pokemon is a Hunter Field Institute production. You can listen to us. We are on Amazon and Apple and Spotify. Oh, and yeah, and then we're on YouTube at the Hunterfield Institute channel. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Let us know that you're listening. Give us comments. We like to hear from you. And if you really want to get in touch too, we have an email at hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next round. Bye.
Bye.
This week we're starting a new segment that will be airing periodically. It will be an original story taking place in the Pokemon universe. Part 1. Sea Breeze. A cool breeze carries with it the scent of the salty sea. The first few rays of the rising sun cast an orange glow across the grassy fields that covered the distance between the sparkling waves and a small house. The wind caused the long blades of grass to bend and curl in a way that gave the field the appearance of being merely an extension of the wavy sea. The house rested atop a hill, and sitting near the building was a man who had called it home for the last 8 years. Curled up against the man was a small creature with light-colored fur. It kicked out its hind legs a few times in its sleep. A soft smile dawned on the man's face as he pet his furry companion, knowing that it was quite early for either of them to be out of bed. The man simply wanted to take in as much as he could before he had to say goodbye to it all. As the sun rose higher, the man thought he had heard something behind him. He turned his head a little to see if he could hear anything else, and was just about to give up when the little Pokemon sleeping next to him twitched its long, pointed ear and looked up. Looking down at his companion, he gave a nod as if they were both thinking the same thing. "She's coming," he whispered. Standing up on all fours, the Pokemon waved its full tail excitedly and stared at the door to the house. As footsteps grew closer to the door, the creature wiggled with excitement, and the moment the door started to slide open, the pale-furred Pokemon let out a yip and leapt toward the unsuspecting girl. With a squeal, the girl fell backward and wrestled the Pokemon, giggling as she attempted to protect her face from getting licked.
Okay, stop, V. No, V, stop!
The man grinned wide and got to his feet. He sent out a sharp whistle that caught the Pokemon's attention, and then he jerked his head back over his shoulder and reached out one arm. Immediately, the pale Eevee rushed over, bound up the man's arm, gave the man's cheek a quick lick, and then rested upon his shoulder. "Good morning, Violet." He stepped over to the girl and helped her back to her feet. Using a sleeve to wipe her face, she looked over at the rising sun and then back at the man and said,
Why are you up so early?
He shrugged. "Couldn't sleep. Actually, I'm surprised you could. I'd think the excitement of starting your journey as a Pokemon trainer would have prevented it." The girl looked down as she dug a toe into the dirt.
Well, I didn't think I could either, and was really trying hard to decide what Pokemon I would choose depending on my options. And I was sitting on the floor looking through different books, and then, well, I must have collapsed with exhaustion. Next thing I knew, I was waking up on the floor with a page stuck to my face.
The man let out a hearty laugh and then nodded in understanding. "That is more of what I would have expected from my daughter." He wrapped an arm around Violet and gave her a squeeze while he turned and faced the sun that had now risen high enough to start returning much of the usual colors to the grass and sea. He took a deep breath of the salty air and said, "Well, we have a few hours yet before we need to head into Cerulean. How about we start the day off with some French toast?" The girl nodded, and the two of them, along with V, went inside to enjoy some breakfast. To be continued.